Hello and welcome to my first standard deck profile for V-BT01. Today we're going to be looking at a Nova Grappler deck. Also the cheapest deck, viable deck you can really build optimally. This deck in its entirety, going off of TCG player prices today, is like $15 USD. So if you want to build something really cheap that is still capable of competing, then this is really good pick. Like same price as a trial deck, just getting the singles, so like super cheap. So let's get into things. So starting off, of course, the key thing, our grade 3, our main grade 3, here's Asura Kaiser. So let's talk about him. As I mentioned in my clan guide on Nova Grappler, there's a big problem with Perfect Raizer in that his Counterblast 2 cost means it's very easy for him to get damage denied. Asura Kaiser gives us, by focusing on Asura Kaiser, we completely relinquish that weakness, and does also remove the need for counter chargers. Also makes Burstraizer a lot more viable, because now its Counterblast cost isn't interfering with Perfect Raizer's own Counterblast cost, and overall just all flows very well. Removes a lot of your opponent's counterplay in exchange for making the power of the deck quite a bit more luck reliant. However, the thing is that statistically, we have 22 grade 2 or higher here. We have 13 grade 2s and 9 grade 3s. On a twin drive, our chance of checking one of our grade 2 or greater cards and thus getting a free standoff of Asura Kaiser is about 70%. The chance of hitting 2 is a pretty solid 19.6%. If we add in our 16 triggers into there, we have a 95% chance of hitting something and a pretty high 60% chance of hitting 2 combined from our grade 2 or graders and our triggers. We've just got to set up our attack patterns in a way that allows us to have things to stand and have targets for our triggers, which Burstraizer makes a lot easier. Burstraizer really helps in that way. And really just one stand on like something like Maximum Raizer is just going to have a big impact. Yeah, that is really our main focus on the deck, maximizing our chances to do things while denying our opponent the ability to damage deny us, since they're going to want to go after our rears anyways. And if we can make the fact that they're going to be doing that less harmful to our overall strategy, then that's going to be pretty solid. I'm not actually completely sure whether this or Perfect Raizer is really the better build, but this is a perfectly viable version of Nova's, which, as I said, can be built very, very cheap. For our other grade 3s, we just have beaters. Battledore is our backup ride, but we really don't want to ride him. But he gives an Excel gift if we do have to ride him, and gets an extra 5k on rear to swing for 17. Maximum Raizer hits for a big 22 as long as it's not boosted. Put that on an Excel, and we're hitting for 32. Very strong. Burstraizer I've talked about a bunch already. Powerful restand card when put on an Excel circle for 19, or a Raizer Custom put behind it for 17 solid stuff. Iron Killer is just a beater, 14k. Cup Bowler is the same thing, proccing off of having a hero like Battledore or Rocket Hammerman on the field to activate its effect. We only run 2 of it because it's really just backup to Iron Killer, and we don't have that many heroes in the deck, but we want to fill out our lineup with more 14k beaters, so might as well have them around. High-powered Raizer Custom is a card that I know I said was a 4 of staple, but while tinkering around with this list and trying to get the grade 2 or graders where I wanted them, I ended up having to drop this to 3, but it's overall fine because you really only need to see one of it to get that to get your Battleraizer on the board and get that +1. Its on-hit pressure is nice, but not really what you're going to be running the card for. For grade 1s, the most important one is of course Jetraizer, as this is the only thing that really effectively acts as an attacker. If you call 2 other things on that turn, it goes up to 13k on an Excel circle. That's going to be 23, or it's just going to be a big booster or whatever. So it's just going to help you hit solid numbers. And you can get it even higher than that, of course. Rocket Hammerman is really here because other grade 1s just aren't very good, but it can boost Battledore or Cup Bowler for an extra 5k. It can be on Excel Circle for 18, whatever. Raizer Custom, we don't run many of it because against Kagro, they're just going to get wiped down. We really only need to see one otherwise. But it restands when behind something. It's good for Burstraizer if he's on an Excel Circle, which is where you want to ideally have him. But overall, it is a solid card. Never use its first effect. It's not worth it. And Transraizer is honestly, after doing some testing, I've been considering training this out for Death Army guy because you basically never use the effect. But I think losing that shield value is going to hurt too much to make that trade. And really it just comes down to Nova's grade 1s are not very good. And it hurts the deck quite a bit that their grade 1s are just pretty garbage and you just go with the least bad stuff. That's really what it comes down to. And of course we're only running 11 grade 1s because we want to maximize on our grade 2 or graders so that all but 11 cards in our deck are going to be giving us effects when you drive check them off of Asura Kaiser. Trigger lineup is pretty basic. 8 front, 4 draw, and 4 heal. Running more draws just hurts your shield values too much to allow you to survive long enough to close out the game. So you need those higher shield values to be able to do that. And fronts are just extremely strong. Like for example, say you have Asura, Burstraizer somewhere, and something else like a Maximum Raizer or whatever. You swing with Asura, you hit a grade 2 or greater, and you hit a front. That scenario is just an extremely powerful play that's going to pressure your opponent down really well. And the fronts are just extremely important for counteracting your big weakness to damage triggers. So they're very important. Asura Kaiser's own plus 10k when you hit grade 3 is also pretty important in that way too. One thing I will say in regards to playing the deck, be careful not to greed too much on your attack patterns. You might be tempted to attack. Make sure you have two things rested for you to restand with Asura Kaiser. 2 front rows, I mean. But the chance of hitting those 2 grade 2 or graders is only like 20%. And that's not high enough to really make that risk worth it. So you should really focus more on making sure that you just have one attacker rested, ready to get restood when you hit a grade 2 or greater, and then the rest is ready to be buffed up by draw triggers and front triggers and whatever. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I already have gameplay of this up that went up yesterday, so go check that out if you want to see the deck in action against Royal Paladins. And with that said, this is Hunter Surge signing off.